your parents for bringing you into this world and keeping you alive.
My mother made me pay for rent and bills, and I don't mean to throw her under the bus, but I just want to be factual for you.
Mom could be the number one hater you ever experienced in your life.
If your child went no contact with you, it's your fault.
So sometimes I get the feeling that the internet just knows what you're going through, even if you don't talk about it out loud or say it out loud. And recently I've been going through some things in my personal life, more specifically with my mother. And recently I started scrolling on Instagram and I ran into videos that basically, I guess you could say, describe or talk about the same thing that I am going through, which is weird, but I guess that's just how maybe social media is these days. So I am going to, I guess, react to some of those videos and, give my 2 cents on them and basically talk a bit more about what I've been going through and stuff like that. I don't know if this will help me or if it's, catharsis at this point, but yeah, let's get into the first video by Helena Pashal. I hope I'm not butchering her name. So I will also be giving credit to all the creators in the video, so you can go check out their content and things like that. So yeah, let's get into the first video.
My mother made me pay for rent and bills, and I don't mean to throw her under the bus, but I just want to be factual for you. Made me pay for rent and bills when the internships that I had done every single summer and externships, the job that I was guaranteed, fell through, and I did not have money, and she knew that, but she was like, you're not going to stay in my house for free. And I'm saying that because there's still a lot of parents, like, mind you, this is years and years, like 20, 30 years ago, and parents are still doing that to their kids. It was going to be absolutely impossible for me to pay all these bills and then save money to get my own place. And of course, when you're trying to save money, that's when your car breaks down, right? So I had other obstacles to get through. But I want to know, the same parents that aren't helping you get in college, that aren't helping provide any direction, because a lot of kids have activities, but they didn't have any sense of direction, and the parents aren't giving you any sense of direction. Why do you feel like your kid has to pay for everything? Why aren't we setting up our kids to be able to just really get ahead? You don't have a plan for your kid, but then your kid becomes the plan. That still kind of bothers me. I know she did what she could do, but so many parents still do that, and that bothers me.
Okay, so she said a lot there, and a lot of things, actually not even just a lot of the things, I think everything she said in this video I relate to, because, and I'm gonna go back a few years here, I think I was like 21 at the time, which was like around 2016. I had just finished high school the previous year, and I got a job working as a waiter, and for some reason, I don't know why, but she always criticized that job, my mother that is, like she always criticized that job, and she didn't see it as like a job that maybe that she could be proud of, and mainly a job that I myself shouldn't be proud of. So she pulled a few strings with some guy she knew who got me a job at a factory where they made paint basically. And what happened was that the job paid, I guess, a little over minimum wage in our country's currency. And the weird thing about this is that I remember like she helped me, not just me, but me and my brother get those jobs. So when we were working in that factory, I remember she stopped literally paying for everything around the house. Like she stopped buying food, she stopped paying for the electricity and everything like that. She did cover the rent though, but I remember she was telling us that since we got these jobs, we need to find our own places to live. But then at the same time, she would also want us to pay for the bills and the things around the house, like buying food and groceries, and it even got to a point where she was like, yeah, because normally we would do this thing as a family where we do our laundry all together, like to save on like water, electricity, and basically resources and stuff like that. So she would stop doing all those things, and like everyone started washing their own laundry with whatever they bought, and she would also stop paying for the electricity, which that fell on me and my brother. And it was weird because it's like, you're telling us to move out and get our own places, but at the same time, when we are trying to do that, first of all, we're making below minimum wage, so I don't think you can find a place that costs, I guess, very little to that point where you can live somewhere. Like, even if it was back in 2016 where it's like, yeah, you couldn't get a place with like minimum wage. Also, you have to factor in things like there's bills that you need to pay, there's, you know, transportation costs for going to work, there's food that you need to buy, and, you know, among other things. So it wasn't like practical, but it was weird at the same time. And also she mentioned, the lady in the video mentioned that when she wanted to, I guess, achieve certain things like, you know, life goals or whatever, maybe that had to do with school, like the parents, or rather her parent, didn't help her with those things. And for me, it was pretty much the same thing, because I'm an artist, first of all, and I remember being, I think it was around, I was around like 19 or so, and I had just finished school. And the first thing, which basically is what led up to the whole thing of like me having to work those jobs when I was literally like 20 to 21. So when I was around 19, I remember like I had just finished school, and the first thing that happened when I finished school, I remember going to my mother and telling her that hey, now that I'm done with school, since I like doing art, I would like to pursue a career in either graphic design or animation. And she straight up just told me that she doesn't have the money to send me to school and I should find a job. Which, I mean, you might say, well, that's understandable, but I have two siblings, a brother and a little sister, who, by the way, when they finished school, she never like imposed those sort of rules towards them. Like, it was to the point where my brother didn't even know what he wanted to do with his life, but she was basically constantly like on him, like trying to, I guess, help him figure out what he wanted to do, and whatever interest that he had, you know, like she would tell him that, you know, I'm willing even to like help you with this and all sorts of things. Like, if you wanna maybe even like get into music, I can buy you equipment, I can buy you this, I can help you with that, this, that, and the third. I also have a sister who, you know, she wanted to get into whatever her interests were. I mean, I can't really get into that, but, and my mother basically went all out for her, you know, like she did everything. I'm talking from trying to apply for student loans and you know, like looking for schools. Heck, I remember she even like moved us from one apartment to another, which would be like closer to where my little sister's school was. And it was insane, because I was like, man, you know, if she had, you know, this much, I guess, motivation to help me, like, I don't know where I would be in life right now. And the crazy thing about this is that, like, throughout all this, it's like I feel guilty even just like talking about this stuff, because it's like I understand that, you know, even she might have been going through some things, you know, like it's not easy being a single mother and raising 3 kids and all that. And yeah, it's like I said, like I kind of feel guilty doing this, because it's like, despite everything, you know, she did, I guess you could say, give me the bare minimum that I needed as a child to survive, you know, like shelter, food, clothes, and everything. So yeah, I guess there is that aspect of it. But let's get into the second clip by the creator called Lamar Farmer.
Mom could be the #1 hater you ever experienced in your life. You supposed to experience unconditional love for the first time from your mom, but your mom showed you the first time hate can be real from her. She showed you all the energy that you wasn't looking from your mom. You supposed to get unconditional love from her, but she made you run away from that because you seen all the toxic that your mom used to be on. You held her accountable for all the that she swept under the rug, that all your siblings looked the other way. You held her accountable for that. So that's why you look at her. I would never fuck with my mama like that, because she made me feel like I wasn't in every possible way you can imagine. She talked about me to everybody that wanted to listen, and made me feel like I could never come home. I could never ask her for. And a lot of people isolate themselves away from their mama because they experience no love from their mama. And then a lot of people try to convince you, you know, you only get one mama. You know, you only got one chance to deal with your mama. You need to learn how to forgive her and live and let go. And when she won't live and let go, and she's supposed to be a bigger person, that's your mama, but she still hold grudges towards you. And so it still held you accountable for your shit, but she won't even own up to her shit. So that's why a lot of people look at their mama like, boy, I don't give a damn about what people think about me for not talking to my mama. You can label me whatever the you want to label me, but my mama was the #1 biggest hater out here, and that's why I don't know what no real love look like, because I go out here and chase love from people that don't even give me real love, seeking validation from people just like what my mama was supposed to give me, and I don't even get it real right for real. So now I'm out here up in the head and actually having mama problems and mama issues in some type of way because my mama treated me way worse than anybody could ever treat me. So that's why a lot of people are like, man, I don't f with my mama. I treat my mama like a damn stranger because she treat me like a damn stranger. So whatever you want to tell me, whatever label you want to put me, you ain't what my mama got to think about it. If you want to feel like I say f my mama, a lot of people like, I don't give a f. Call me what you want. I'll be dancing in hell real fast and quick if that's where I'm supposed to be because my mama treated me like I'll be there with motherfucking gasoline draws on. So a lot of people feel that way, and that's what people understand when it come down to dealing with your mama. So don't feel bad about not talking to your mama. You might felt so much type of hate towards your mama, and I understand where you coming from. So don't let nobody make you feel like you ain't because you don't talk to your mama. That's just my opinion. That's just being honest. Your mama can be your number one hater. First hater you ever experienced in life. Instead of showing you unconditional love, she showed you none but hate. Just my opinion. Just being honest.
Now, I'm not even sure if, the type of behavior that my mother, I guess, showed towards me can be called hater behavior. But yeah, I guess you could say it's something similar. And I know it sounds like I'm making excuses for her at this point. It's like, yeah, I guess it's one of those things where it's like, it's that guilt and, that sort of thing in your mind that's like, yeah, like she's still your mother. And I guess in a sense, I kind of have to unlearn that. But yeah. So I guess the one thing that would I guess qualify as maybe like that hater behavior for me is like the way like I was treated in comparison to my siblings, which I did mention on on reaction to the first clip when I was talking about how like when I finished school I was treated differently than my siblings. And it's not only that, but there have been times when even when I was working on things on my own, and I remember like this would happen a lot, but I'm just going to give this one example where I remember she asked me for money at one point. Like she asked to borrow money from me, and I borrowed her that money with the intention, like with the expectation that I will get it back at some point, right? And I remember like at this time I was trying out like YouTube as a way to promote my art, and I was streaming a lot at that point. And when I was streaming, I was getting a lot of views, and my YouTube channel at that point had just gotten, I think it was around 1,005 subscribers, and it was doing so well, right? But I didn't have like enough equipment to like get the stream to a point that I guess could be maybe, how do I put this? I guess more enjoyable for my viewers. And I needed a microphone. So I remember like I asked her, hey, remember that money that you borrowed from me? I need that money so I can buy a microphone so that I can, implement, I guess, the whole thing of like talking to my viewers on stream. And before that, like I was using my phone as a microphone, which I don't know, it worked. And when that didn't work, sometimes I would just type responses to, whatever people were saying. But besides the point, the point that I'm trying to make is that like when I asked her for that money back, which I never got back, by the way, she gave me this stank eye look, and it was almost like I insulted her. And I was surprised because I'm like, why are you looking at me like that? Because like you owe me and you said you'd pay me back. Like this is money that I need, and it's not like I'm going to use it for something stupid or whatever, right? And even then it's like I don't understand why I have to justify why I need money that you owe me, which is kind of weird. And it's always been like that with everything that I've pursued in relation to my art in life. Like she really doesn't heck, I think I have maybe like family members who supported me in my art journey more than she has, which is a strange thing to say because it's like the expectation would be, oh, your mother should help you with this because like obviously she's your mother, but it wasn't the case with her, which again, weird, right? So maybe that qualifies as hater behavior. I don't know. Again, I'm still stuck in that mentality that, she's still my mother, so I don't want to sound as harsh. And this dude also mentioned something about things happening and your siblings looking the other way. And this is something that I would experience a lot with my siblings, which is that whenever like I would get into maybe like certain conflicts with my mother, like whenever she'd do something towards me which was like unfair, and I would basically like try to talk to my siblings about it, and they'd be dismissive and they'd be like, oh, like that's between you and your mother. Like, I don't want to get involved, so y'all sort that out. And in a sense, it is kind of fucked up. But I think maybe one of the major reasons why they feel like they didn't want to get involved is because I guess they were treated differently. And even though like they could see the unfairness that I was being untreated with, for them, I'm guessing that maybe they had this thing where it's like, well, I mean, so long as it ain't me, it doesn't really matter, or maybe I can't afford to get involved because yeah, it's not happening to me directly. So yeah, I don't hold it against them, which is a weird thing because like I'm still very close to a certain degree with my siblings. But yeah, like I said, it's not something that I hold against. And also another point that this guy mentioned, which is that his mother would say things about him, badmouth him and things like that, which again, for me, maybe it wasn't, yeah, like she didn't really talk bad about me to other people, but more so, I guess, things that she would say directly to me. Like, I find it weird that sometimes when people try to like insult me, there's always like this thought in my head where it's like, I've heard worse, right? And it's crazy because like when I think I've heard worse, I always think back to my mother. It's like, yo, she has called me things that whenever people outside of my family insult me, like it just bounces off me like it doesn't matter, because I'm like, yo, is that really like the best that you can come up with? Because like I've heard worse from people who are closer to me, and you're a stranger, so like this really doesn't affect me in any way, shape or form. And also another point he mentioned, he said there were certain things where it's like, yeah, there was a certain point where he said that he couldn't ask his mother for anything, and this has been, I guess, my life since pretty much high school. Like for me, asking my mother for anything, if it wasn't school related, sometimes, like say for example, if it wasn't something that I needed at the moment for my school, like clothing or something along those lines, then I don't think she would help me. But there were other times where it was like, yeah, you know, she wouldn't help me at all. And I kind of grew up with that thing where I was like, if I ever need anything in life, like I'm on my own basically. I don't think there's anyone else that I can rely on, which is insane because like, you know, most people would expect to get help from their parents whenever they ask. But for me, it was like, even when I'd struggle, I'd be like, well, I guess that's it. I guess I'm struggling. Whereas most people would be like, oh, I think my parents can help me. I didn't have that. And towards the end, I think this guy also mentioned where he said, you know, people will always be like, oh, you know, like you should be understanding because that's your mother and, you know, you only have one mother. And which is crazy because like I remember seeing a clip on Instagram where some guy was like, you know, people will tell you that you should be kind to your parents because this is their first time being alive. And someone responded, well, it's my first time being alive too, but I'm not a piece of... And you know, that kind of resonated with me, especially like when it came to like both my parents, because it's like, and this like it really bleeds well into like the next clip that I'm about to show, which is that most people like expect the child to be the one who, I guess, repairs or basically maintains their relationship with their parents, but then like they never blame the parent for anything. And then there's also the matter of like unconditional love, which he mentioned again towards the end. Like I'm 31 and at my big age, I still don't know what that looks like, which I guess in a sense kind of has me messed up in the head, and I have a lot of trust issues, which till this day I'm like, I don't even know how I'm supposed to deal with that. Maybe I need therapy, which I don't know, maybe one day when I can afford it, I will go and consider that option. But for now, I guess maybe talking about it on the internet will, again, like I said, it's catharsis at this point.
There's an increase in the number of people cutting off their parents, but there's one thing I've noticed about this trend. Has anybody else noticed that when an adult child chooses not to have a relationship with a parent, it's always, but it's your mom and dad. You only get one mom and dad. Why are you doing that? And it's never, wow, what could a parent have done to cause their child to make this decision but feel like it was the right one? It's never, what happened that made a grown adult feel like the need to walk away from the people who raised them? And it's definitely never, but they're your children. How can you treat them that way? Why is the weight placed on the child? Why is the burden of maintaining peace, preserving connection, and forgiving endlessly dumped onto the very person who's probably carrying the scars? No one ever stops to think, maybe that parent wasn't a safe person. Maybe the parent was emotionally manipulative, abusive, dismissive, narcissistic, or just constantly absent when it mattered most. Maybe parent was just a title and not something they lived up to. And yet the child is the one questioned. The child is the one who's guilted, shamed, or gaslit. There's this automatic defense of the parent as if the role of parent comes with some lifetime immunity from accountability. But here's the truth. People don't cut off their parents typically for no reason. It's not impulsive. It's not heartless. It's usually the last result after years of trying, years of hoping things would change, years of therapy, tears, inner conflict. It's often deep, painful act of self-preservation. And yet society keeps asking the wrong question. Instead of why did you walk away, maybe it's time to start asking what happened that made staying impossible.
You owe your parents for bringing you into this world and keeping you alive.
No, the hell they don't. Listen, it's time we have the public conversation about this for all you parents out there that think this way. Your children don't owe you shit. They didn't ask to be brought into this world. They didn't ask for you to lay down with a man or a woman, bust inside them, or let them bust inside you and create another human being. You played adult games and you won an adult prize. Congratulations. I tell you, I see so many parents your age, lady, that think this way. But you're also the same types of parents that refuse to take accountability for the situations you put your children in. When your child finally grows up and tries to have an adult conversation about what you did to them, you shut them down and refuse to talk about it. You tell them they need to grow up. That happened so long ago. Get over it. Then have the audacity to get on social media and ask, why are my kids cutting me off? Why are they going no contact? Why won't they let me see my grandchildren? Want to know why? It's because they refuse to let you do to their children what you did to them. So no, your child don't owe you a damn thing. If anything, if that child that's gone no contact with you ever gives you another opportunity, you owe them, most likely, an apology for prioritizing your life over their childhood.
So on this clip by the creator thebigoletexanfamily, he's reacting to a lady who's basically saying that children owe their parents for bringing them into this world and keeping them alive, which is kind of sick in my opinion. Which, I mean, I do have personal examples of this to where, like, even though there are some parents out there who will not say this out loud, but you will, I guess, see it in their actions, so to speak. Like, one example, this didn't happen to me directly, but it happened, I think, with one of my little cousins, where I remember my aunt was kind of like having, I guess, like an argument with them, and the oldest one, she said that she didn't ask to be born, and that, you know, a lot of the things that her mother was asking of her were a bit, like, you know, unfair and things of that nature. And she wasn't just saying that willy-nilly, you know, like, she was saying that in response to my aunt basically saying that, you know, she brought her into this world, she took care of her, she sent her to school, she fed her, she raised her, all those things. And I remember, like, my aunt was venting to my mother about this, and I was sitting there eating, listening to them, you know, argue about this, and I basically just laughed, and my aunt looked at me weird, and I was like, well, who did you expect to do all those things? Like, the next door neighbor? Like, I don't get it. Like, what do you mean? Like, you did all those things for her, and then she tells you that, oh, I didn't ask you to be born, which, I mean, she didn't, first of all. And second of all, it's like, she did have a point. And this is something that I would basically mention a lot, right, to a lot of people or a lot of parents who think that their children owe them, which is that children don't ask to be here. Like, you know, like, I guess maybe you didn't, I don't know how this works, but I guess you did have a choice on whether or not you wanted to have a child, and then you bring them into this world only to guilt trip them into them doing things that you would want them to do, which again is unfair because it takes away their autonomy and things of that nature. So after I mentioned all of that to her, she never brought it up again. Like, I remember, like, she went silent, right, my aunt that is, and I was like, it's kind of weird that, you know, parents do hold this thing over their kids' heads where they would be like, you know, they expect their children to act a certain way simply because, you know, they brought them into the world and they raised them and they clothed them, they fed them. It's like, dude, that's like the bare minimum of things that you should do, you know, like responsibilities you have towards your children, and expecting some form of compensation for that from said children, in my opinion, is twisted. So yeah, this guy, he has a point in what he's saying. As children, we don't owe our parents anything. I I mean, like, we can be grateful for the things that they do for us, but it's not really something that I guess should be held over our heads as a form of maybe like manipulation or emotional blackmail. But in another case, I guess for me, when it comes to things that have happened to me personally, my mother didn't like, she wouldn't outright say these things, but I mean, like, she would when I was younger. But as I got older, I guess she kind of stopped. But instead of saying things like this, she would mostly just show it in her attitude and I guess how she treated me. Like, for example, you know how I talked about there have been times when she would maybe either borrow money from me or even like take money from me and then refuse to pay it back because, I don't know, maybe she kind of felt a sort of like entitlement to the money that I made, which, by the way, she wouldn't even help me when it came to like earning this money, but for some reason she would feel like she's entitled to it in a sense. And I remember I had this conversation with my little sister, was like, I was telling her that, yeah, you know, like, there are times when she's taken money from me and she wouldn't pay me back. And my little sister said that, yeah, you know, like, she talked to her about, you know, these situations. And my mother's response was that a lot of the things that she does with said money benefit us both, because I used to live with her and it was just us two, right? So at this point, my little sister was busy, but besides the point. So she'd say, yeah, but the money that she took from me, what she used it for, benefited us both. And I responded to her by saying, that may be the case, but then, like, it's not like I don't contribute anything to the household as well, right? Like, I earn money and sometimes I help out with the bills or the groceries around the house. And you don't hear me like talking about, oh, these things benefit us both. I just did it. But somehow when she either takes money from me or borrows money from me, she doesn't feel the need to, you know, pay me back because the money basically, I guess you could say, for her, in her opinion or in her view, in her point of view, did something that benefited us both, which again, it's, I guess, kind of messed up. And even then, like, I remember being a teenager and I was sort of like having a disagreement with my brother about doing chores and things like that. And my mother was forcing me to do something that wasn't my turn for me to do something. And then she basically went into this rant about how I shouldn't be counting all the things that I do, because if she counted all the things that she had done for me, and you know, like, it wouldn't compare. And I remember she even mentioned, like, she was threatening to kick me out at this point. I remember she said that if we, like, since we're going, and I'm paraphrasing, since we're going into like all the things that we do for each other, if I were to kick you out right now and basically told you to leave everything that I ever bought you behind, the chances of you living in this, like, leaving this house naked with literally no clothes on is very high. And I think I was like 17, 16 at this point, which, I mean, granted, she did kick me out when I was 21, but you know, that's a video for another time, or rather it's a topic for another time. So yeah, I mean, I guess there is that thing where it's like, yeah, like, some parents do kind of feel like entitled to their kids' time, their efforts, and everything like that. And it's like, we didn't even ask to be here, but then, like, you expect us to do all those things. Like, you treat us like we owe you. And it gets to a point where now a lot of people that, like, there's certain people that I know who are like, because of, you know, the toxic relationships they had with their parents and mostly their mothers, these people don't even want to have kids anymore, because it's like, they don't want to, I guess, perpetuate the whole toxicity that, you know, came from their parents. And I'm one of those people. Like, I'm basically living life right now with that whole mentality of like, I don't even want to have kids because of like the way that I grew up, and I feel like I'm too messed up, right, to raise a kid simply because of all the things that I went through with my parents. And yeah, I mean, it's not the only reason why I don't want kids. There's more, but then, like, one of the main ones is that reason.
If your child went no contact with you, it's your fault. I don't care what anybody says. If you're an estranged parent and your child no longer speaks to you, it's your fucking fault. No adult wakes up one day and says, for no reason, I'm going to stop talking to my parent. It fully comes with them having to think about doing it, trying to reconcile with you, trying to have a resolution to the problem, and trying everything in their power to get you to understand what you did to them. And then they go no contact. It doesn't just happen overnight. This is something that has been brewing for years and years and years on end. So I don't want to hear any estranged parent in my comment talking about, well, I did the best that I could. Well, my child was really hard growing up. Well, guess what? If your child was really hard growing up, that's the fucking price that you pay of having a child. And they're allowed to express themselves. So sorry.
So this clip by the creator Dre Mag speaks to, I guess, another thing that I recently went through. Around the time when I was 21, I did mention that my mother kicked me out, but she sort of called me back, I think maybe like a year later, when she realized that I wasn't like talking to her. Like I fully went no contact. But then like she called me back around a year later, maybe like she realized that, from what I understand, I think she had a conversation with someone, I guess, who kind of made her realize that what she did was kind of fucked up. So even like her saying, hey, come back and live with me, it wasn't necessarily something that she did of her own, I guess, discretion. But recently now, like 10 years later, I'm 31, I was living with her in my grandmother's house. And the reason why we were living in my grandmother's house, another story for another time, it was financial issues. You know, the economy is basically in the trash right now. So yeah, it's another one of those things. But yeah, up until like recently, I was living with her. And I remember when she kicked me out, like recently, it was the 27th of June. And we had a disagreement like early in the morning. She wanted me to do something to help her out with her business. But then like at the time, I couldn't help her out. And I remember telling her that, yo, I can't help you run your business today because I also have things going on. Like I had like some client work that I needed to do. And I also had like personal projects that I also needed to do. And the weird thing about it is like, even when I would help her out with a business, there was literally like no compensation for me at all, right? And again, like I said in the previous clip, for her, it was that entitlement of like, well, what I'm doing benefits us both, so why do you expect anything in return? So we had a disagreement about that, and she basically told me, well, if you're not gonna help me, then you might as well just pack your bags and leave. And just like when I was 21, when she kicked me out, I never even argued with her. Like I just packed my bags and left. And I remember she was on the phone with my aunt, and she was telling her that, oh yeah, he'll be back within like the next 5 days. It's been, I guess, a month now, and I haven't said anything to her or contacted her or anything like that. And recently my sister just finished with school and she went back home, and I remember like just a few weeks back I was getting a text from her, and she was asking, like, she was like, wow, you left? And I was like, no dude, I didn't leave, your mother kicked me out. And my brother sent me, or maybe he didn't send, he played a few voice messages from my little sister, and she was basically describing what my mother told her happened on like the situation of like why I left, right? And I was surprised because she was asking like, yo, what happened to, you know, me? Like, why did I leave? And she was also like saying the things that like our mother told her. She was like, apparently my mother told her that I just packed my bags and left, and even then, like when I left, I didn't even say goodbye. Like I just packed my shit and just dipped without saying a word, right? And to that, I like, it confuses me because like, how do you kick someone out and then expect them to say goodbye to you when they leave? First of all. Second of all, why aren't you even telling people that you kicked me out instead of telling them that I left, right? So now it gets to a point where it's like she's trying to spin this narrative where it's like she doesn't want to look bad, so she's telling people that, oh yeah, like he just left, which is crazy because like you and I both know that's not what happened. But it's to the point now where I'm like, I don't even have the energy for this anymore. So like, it happened to me once before, and this is the second time it's happening. I'm old enough. I didn't need her back when I was like 21. I survived on my own. She's the one who came back, and I gave her a second chance. Like now I'm 31. It's like, dude, I can't keep doing this. I'm tired. And again, like I said, you know, like it goes back to this whole thing of like the way I'm treated in comparison to my siblings, to where I know that for a fact, if it was either maybe my brother or my sister, like saying no to my mother, to them, it's something that they're just used to. And she never even like questions why they say no to her or whatever. Like she just accepts it and she just moves on. But then like whenever it came to me, every time I'd say no to her, it would be a whole thing where it's like I will get lectured for it, I would get guilt tripped, all those things, you know. It wasn't just, oh, he said no, or he said, and I didn't even say no. I just said I couldn't help it because like I had my own thing going on. And again, goes back to, you know, the unfair treatment. Again, like I said, if my other siblings wanted help from her, or, you know, if they were to say, oh yeah, like I got something else going on, so I can't help you today, she'd be understanding. But, you know, she didn't, you know, afford me that liberty, I guess. So yeah, like the whole no contact thing, something that I guess I'm used to. And even back then, like when she kicked me out and I went no contact, people kind of looked at me weird, and then they were like, what, so you're not even gonna like talk to her or whatever? And I was like, why would I? Because like I'm not even the one who like broke the relationship between me and her. So why does then the responsibility of fixing said relationship fall on me when I wasn't even the one who broke the relationship? And sometimes even if you think that, oh, like maybe you might have done like something wrong and this is why she was treating you this way, like that's not even the case. Like I'm a middle child, and I don't know if that means anything, but for most of my childhood I was the most well-behaved child among my siblings. And I remember even like this one time a few years ago, I mentioned that to her. I was like, you know, I'm one of your most well-behaved children, and I've never even like done anything that like inconvenienced you. Even like with when you look at how my siblings were, like they probably do things at school when we were younger to where like my mother had to be called in or something along those lines, to where like I had never done that. And I remember mentioning that to my mother, and she was like, yeah, I know. So it's like even she was aware that I'm the most well-behaved child that she has, and I've never like caused her any trouble. And even when I asked her, it's like, even knowing that I'm your most well-behaved child, why do I still get treated like this? And she couldn't even answer. She still doesn't even have an answer. Or maybe she does, but then like accountability is something that is not in, I guess, her books, or it's not something that she's familiar with. I mean, till this day, I can't even say I've ever heard my mother like apologize to me or own up to something bad that she did to me. So yeah, I mean, I guess it's one of those weird things that, you know, I had to go through, I guess, like throughout the years of being raised by my mother and living with her, even in certain parts of my adulthood. But then I guess this is like a topic that I could go into forever. It's like I went through so much with this woman, you know, throughout my life, you know, from the time I was a child to being an adult till now. You know, there's just a lot to unpack. And I think maybe this is something that I guess I can continue on another video, because again, like I said, there's more and more examples that I could give, or more and more things that I could talk about, you know, relating to this situation. But if I did that, I think this video would just take way too long. So yeah, I'm just gonna end it here. You know, I mean, if you have maybe stories that are personal to you that you would like to share, you know, you can leave them in the comments and all that. Also, you know, leave a like, do the whole YouTube thing. This is a new channel and this is my first video, and I know I just came out with like a really heavy topic. But you know, if you want to see me discuss other topics, you know, that are, I guess, maybe like personal to me, or maybe not even personal to me, maybe some things that happen in our society that I guess I find either weird or worth discussing, you know, do the whole YouTube thing, help the video reach more people, because I know that, especially for me, there are people out there who go through this stuff and they don't know how to like handle it or deal with it. So like for me, you know, seeing these videos and hearing people talk about these things which are personal to them is basically, I guess, what helped me cope, I guess, with my personal situation. So yeah, if you can, you know, like the video, comment, share, do whatever you can to put the video in the algorithm and let people see it basically. And with that, I guess I'll see you on the next one.